This is Justin Kantor of soulmusic.com. Today, I'm talking with the one and only Linda Lewis. Having established herself with influential soul folk albums such as Lark and Fathoms Deep, and even a bop and disco cover of Betty Everett's It's in His Kiss, Linda is admired by everyone from Stevie Wonder to Joni Mitchell and Eric Clapton. On the occasion of Big Break Records' CD reissues of her 70s and 80s album catalog, she's here to tell us about how it all started and the meaning behind the music. In the liner notes to Say No More, which was your first full-length album, which is one of the reissues, you recalled growing up in East London, where I believe your first performing experience was standing on top of a counter in a local shop to sing for customers. So, do you remember much about the feeling that you had when that was going on?
Yeah, so I felt like, wow, this is good fun. Everyone is giving me things. And, just, being little and then someone lifting me up. Obviously, I was taller than I was high up. So, so I felt like I was, wow, sort of on top of the world, basically.
Wow.
And then when my mum saw that work, then she started getting me singing on public transport, though. I didn't really like that.
Oh, a little more stressful, huh?
Yeah, so if you went on a bus or something, which we did all the time, it was like, my mum was like, just get up. It was like more like a sort of undercover thing. It wasn't like, and now, ladies and gentlemen, my daughter was singing. It was more like, just get up and start wandering up and down singing.
Wow.
So I did that, and then people used to give me money, so that was like strange. That was a bit like that. Yeah, I felt a bit embarrassed about that.
I was gonna say I don't know what age you were specifically, but that it must have been hard because it would seem like you'd be self-conscious if you're not just doing it of your own choice,
Yeah, I was. Yeah, and then my mum sent me to stage school, so that was more structured. Wherever we were, we would. My mum would just say to me, "Just start."
Okay.
Just wander up and down the aisle.
Yeah.
Which is, kids do, funny things, don't they? But so it wasn't sort of, oh, she's wandering up and down the aisle. I think it wasn't. There weren't so many rules in those days with like seat belts, and you must keep seeing your seat and all that stuff.
Okay, so, yeah, that's a good point. Well, you learned...
I just used to wander up and down the aisle. I was always singing anyway. I was singing all the time. Wherever I walked, I was singing, and it was just like one of those things that I did all the time anyway. But my mum just wanted me to do it louder so that other people would hear me and give me money.
Yeah, wow. So you learned to perform on cue from a very young age.
Yeah.
I guess that's sort of like, the title of one of your later albums, I believe, was Born Performer, so that's kind of, true to life. You had also mentioned about, I think that you would listen sometimes to Radio Luxembourg.
Yeah, that was later on when I was a teenager, and I was on, that's when the nuns, I was in the convent. Yeah.
Okay, so you were still there. And I believe that was some of your first exposure, you'd said, to sort of the soul or blues music that you had access to, because you mentioned earlier that it was kind of, a tough area where you were growing up, but also you had mentioned in the liner notes that, it was a very poor upbringing, and so there wasn't necessarily access to, choices when it came to a lot of things like radio stations or, whatnot.
No, like, the radio station was like the BBC, which was like sort of, that was all to do with it. I think you heard one black person on there, and her name was Winifred Atwell, her name was.
Oh, okay.
She used to play the piano like really fast and smile, and And I think that was the only black person you ever heard on the BBC.
Wow.
But my mum used to have records of like Nat King Cole and the Platters and things like that. So I always loved all that sort of stuff. And of course, my granddad, who was from the West Indies, he used to sing us some like calypso songs.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
So that's what I was sort of brought up on when I was very little. But then when I was a teenager, and I discovered the Radio Luxembourg and then the pirate stations. They started playing Motown and just, stuff from Atlantic, and all those all the black music from the States.
Yeah.
And soul and everything like that, which I'd never heard. I mean, the first time I ever heard Motown, I just was like, wow. It was like the first time I ever heard Beatles. The first time I ever heard the song by the Beatles, it was like, wow, yeah. It was
a whole new world.
You just wanted to climb in the inside the record player and live there.
Yeah.
And or climb inside the radio and just become part of the... So that's, then I got sort of hooked on that. There was a lady called Mary Wells. And
oh, yeah, my guy, yeah.
Yeah, I used to sort of use my hairbrush, in my bedroom as a microphone and do Mary Wells songs and stuff.
Oh, well, she's such a classic voice, I think. Wasn't like a belter, but just she had that special tone to her voice that just, she just sang naturally, and it just evoked so much feeling, I think. Yeah.
So I was really attracted to her and Smokey Robinson, all those people who had that sort of light, high voices.
Okay, yeah. So it's interesting, since you did start to get that exposure to hearing that kind of music, and then as it would turn out, the first record that you would cut as a teenager came to be a sort of sought-after soul classic, which was "You Turn My Bitter into Sweet." It was done by Betty Swan, I believe, in the beginning. As far as you, I only heard the update you did of it in the 80s. I never have actually heard the original version you cut. I know it's very sought after and collectible.
I haven't even got a copy.
Yeah, I saw an interview that you posted on YouTube where you were saying that. I was like, wow, it's amazing how much that happens. These records that go for hundreds of pounds or whatever, and the artist himself doesn't have one.
Well, I remember doing a session. I went to EMI, and there were all these amazing session guys there, including Robert Plant. Not Robert Plant. The guitar player was Led Zeppelin. What's his name?
Oh, I know, it's slipping me too, but I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, all those people, John Paul Jones, and they were all session guys on that. Young session guys.
Wow.
So I would go into this great. It was like a great big, to me, huge studio, EMI, and I was so nervous because I'd never done this before, and you do it with the guys when they're playing, so you're behind the glass screen, like the booth that separates you.
So
they were sort of world weary kind of. Even though they're young, they were like, "Oh, here we go again."
Kind of cool.
Yeah. So but it had that, it had a very sort of northern soul thing.
Did you, as
with
far
all the
as
brass and everything?
As far as the song itself, did you feel, was it like a natural thing for you, or did you feel in your element or out of your element as far as the type of song that you were actually recording? Because I think you did that one and another one called "Do You Believe," I think, because that was the B-side, I think. Yeah,
and I did some others that didn't come out. I did something by the I think no Dixie Cups. It was called I'm gonna get you. Yeah, I've actually got like a little, what do you call it, demo of that, one of those.
Oh really? Oh cool.
It's hard, it's a little hard disc. I did that, and I did something by was called Selfish One.
Oh, Jackie Ross, right?
Yeah, I did that. I did that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
but
awesome.
they picked those two to come out.
Okay, so what was it? This stylistically, were you okay with it? Was it like you were comfortable doing
yeah,
it?
because this guy Ian Sam. By then, I'd met this guy called Ian Samwell, and he had worked with a lot of, he'd actually toured with Cliff Richard, and been on a bus with, like, the Dixie Cups and all the black acts, and witnessed all the Prejudice and all that stuff.
Oh, so through the States, or was it over there?
Yeah, okay. No, in the States.
In the South and so forth.
Yeah, we didn't have like we didn't have such blatant. I mean, it was all undercover here more. So, but he was producer of. He'd written stuff for the Small Faces.
Okay.
And things like that, the first hit and all that. And I think I got up in a club and sang. I was with my mum again.
Yeah.
And she made me get up and sing with John Lee Hooker's band. And John Lee Hooker was, I think the only reason he let me get up and sing was because he fancied my mum.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
She had like a short mini skirt on, and I was only about 13.
Wow.
So he wasn't interested in me. So I got up and sang Dancing in the Street with the band.
That's cool.
And then that's how I got introduced to Don Arden, who Ian Samwell worked for. Don Arden was Sharon Osbourne's dad.
Okay.
Scary man, very scary.
Really, like, fit the way he looked, or just the way he did things?
Well, he had a reputation, like, where he just had this,
a threatening kind of...
And then also the way he... I remember him sort of... my legs were dangling off. I was sitting off on a desk. I was still growing, so I was only about 15. And I'd had my hair cut in the sort of mod look and all the outfit, but he was, like, lectured me on saying, like, I can't understand what you're saying. Your diction is terrible. What are you saying?
Wow.
And I just said, I don't know what I'm saying because I'm just following the American version. And I didn't actually know what they were saying either because, like, to me I was following the sounds rather than the actual words.
Yeah, phonetically, kind of.
Yeah, phonetically. So he was very scary.
So he was kind of...
he got me. They got me signed to Polydor, and then that's how I met Ian Samwell, and we went on to make an album with the Ferris wheel and stuff like that.
Around that same time, I guess you would say it was sort of a life-changing experience when you moved to North London in the house that you had on Hampstead Way with a variety of friends. And, I was taking a look earlier at the documentary film from that time, where sort of, I guess, Samwell and some of the other people and you were talking about how living there. I didn't quite, get the full picture from that film, but it seemed like it was a very creative environment.
Atmosphere, yeah, it was. It was one of those sort of little suburban houses, but we sort of turned it into a little creative commune. It had a little garden at the back, and we spent a lot of time sitting around the kitchen table. There was lots of instruments in the house. People would pop in like Cat Stevens and Mark Bolan and people like that, John Martin, and they were just sort of, because there was a guy there also who was a famous DJ in London. His name was Jeff Dexter.
Okay.
So he ran this place called the Roundhouse, which was like very sort of famous, big to do.